Good morning, dear students. Today I shall take up the same chapter, the Vedic period, part 2, the epics. To understand the Vedic period, it is very important to have a sound knowledge about the epics. The two epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, are important epics. Ramayana, all of you know about the Ramayana, which was written by Valmiki, Maharshi Valmiki in Sanskrit. The Ramayana were originally composed in Sanskrit. The Sanskrit version is said to be the work of Maharshi Valmiki. The Ramayana is a story about Lord Ram and his victory over the demon, the king of Lanka, Ravan. The story of Ramayana revolves around Ram and the abduction of his wife Sita by a demon king Ravan. The battle between Ram and Ravan, duty, devotion and love shown by the brothers is told in detail. Ram was the eldest of the four sons of Dasarath, the ruler of Ayodhya, who had three queens. Ram was the son of the eldest queen, Kausalya, and was the heir apparent to the throne. He was the successor of the throne of Ayodhya. After Ram was married to Sita, he was to be installed as the king. At this juncture, at this stage, King Dasarath's other queen, Kaikeyi, reminded him of the promise he had made earlier to grant her a wish. Kaikeyi wanted her son Bharat to be the king and Ram to be sent into exile for 14 years. Ram, along with his wife Sita and brother Lakshman, went to the forest. In disguise of a sannyasi, Ravan, the demon king, abducted Sita and took her to Lanka. Ram took the help of Sugriva and Hanuman. They crossed the ocean and defeated Ravan. Ram then, along with Sita and Lakshman, proceeded home. Having completed the 14 years exile, he was crowned the king. Mahabharata, believed to be the work of sage Vedavyas. Mahabharata is also written in Sanskrit language. Originally, it was called Jaya Sanhita, or the collection dealing with victory. It is called Jaya Sanhita, or the collection dealing with victory. Subsequently, it came to be known as Bharata because it contains the story of the descendants of one of the earliest Vedic tribes called Bharat. The final compilation came to be known as Mahabharata. The Bhagavad Gita, which forms a part of the Mahabharata, is one of the most popular religious texts considered sacred by many people in India. The interest of the self might conflict with duty, and whenever there is such a conflict, the Bhagavad Gita gives the answer. That is the secret of the underlying popularity of their religious text. It teaches that the soul is important. Soul is important. Ya enam vyaktihantaram nishchayanam manyate hatam ubhavta na vijanito naya hanti na hanyate. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that our soul is immortal. Neither fire can burn it, neither weapon can cut it. Okay. So this text, which was also composed by Vedavyas, it is a part of the Mahabharata. The Bhagavad Gita tells about the 18 days battle of the Mahabharata. The importance of the epics. The epics serve as the main source of information on the political institutions and the social and cultural organization of the epic age. They provide information on various Aryan kingdoms, their armies, and the weapons they used. The Kshatriyas were entrusted with the defense of their kingdoms, and they believed that death on the battlefield was the noblest act in the life of a warrior. This is the important message of the epics. Second important message of the epics are considered as the finest literary works of the ancient period and are acclaimed and are praised for their literary and philosophical value. They reveal the high ideals of family life of the Aryans. By means of reading the epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, we came to know the good life of the Aryans, the high ideals in the life of the Aryans we came to know by reading the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The great heroes depicted here in the epics are the embodiment of high moral principles. They present before us high moral ideals, high moral principles. The character Lord Ram, which you will find in the Ramayana, such kind of character you will not find in the real world. He was not contrary to anyone. He was very kind and generous to Kaikeyi, who sent him for 14 years exile. Such kind of character is unimaginable, and we cannot imagine such a character. That's why Lord Ram is known as Maryada Purushottam Ram. Okay. The Bhagavad Gita elaborates the karma philosophy and the immortality of the soul. By means of reciting one sloka from the Bhagavad Gita, I have already told you about the immortality of the soul which was mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. It was said, Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam prihitam chayat swadhyay abhyasnam cha manamyam tapuchyate. In the Bhagavad Gita, the philosophy of karma, the philosophy of the immortality of a soul is presented through that immortal work. Archaeological source. The available archaeological sources of the period include iron implements and tools and remains of a pottery, iron artifacts. The discovery of iron marks an important stage in the march of civilization in the world. In India, the Iron Age began in 1000 BC. The village farming communities gradually dispersed in large parts of India, from the Gangetic Plains to the peninsular south. Peninsular denoting or relating to an area of land almost surrounded by water. That area is called peninsular south. Iron was a harder metal than copper and bronze. It was cheap and available in plenty. Iron deposits were found over large areas. It was used in the following areas. Agriculture. They were using iron in the field of agriculture. Agriculture discovery of iron gave the Aryans new implements like access to clear the forest and cultivate the land. When they came to know about iron, they made an axe. With the help of an axe, they cleared the forest areas and made that area, made that land fit for agriculture. Thus, agriculture became their important occupation. With the use of iron plows, heads, sickles, a tool with a short handle and a long curved blade, and hoe, a garden tool with a long handle that is used for turning the soil. They could bring vast tracts of land under cultivation with the help of hoe, with the help of plow, with the help of other tools which they made with the help of iron. They started cultivation. The production of more rice, wheat, barley, vegetables and fruits improved their standard of living. The area which they were clearing with the help of an axe, they were cultivating in those areas and were producing wheat, rice, barley and different kinds of things. The production of those things improved their living standard. Occupation, this is also an important part of the life of the Vedic period. Occupation, the use of iron gave rise to new trades by providing durable implements like saws, chisels, hammers, nails and tongues. This gave rise to occupations such as weaving, spinning, carpentry, tanning. Tanning means to become or mark something brown as a result of spending time in the sun. And tool making, defense, because of its durability, because of the durability of iron and easy availability, iron was extensively used in making weapons like swords, armors and shields. Pottery forms an important source of information. Whatever the pots which we got in the excavation, those pots give an important information about the life of the Aryans. The graveware and the painted graveware, pottery discovered at different sites in Punjab and Haryana, is believed to belong the Rig Vedic Aryans. The important sites include Bhagwanpura, Kurukshetra, Daheri, Ludhiana, Katpalan and Nagar, Jalandhar. These cultures are regarded as Rig Vedic because they belong to the same period and same region as mentioned in the Rig Veda. However, in the Gangetic Yamuna Doab, the earliest iron objects are generally associated with PGW, painted grey ware. Here a number of sites associated with the prolific means productive use of iron have been discovered. The PGW, painted grey ware culture, corresponds to the later Vedic period. The PGW is a very fine, smooth and even colored pottery. It was made out of well worked, high quality clay with geometric patterns painted on it in black. Floral patterns and sun symbols are seen in some cases. The pottery includes open-mouthed bowl and dishes. The pottery which were found by the historian in the excavation, those pots were open-mouthed bowls and dishes. Here in the picture you can see open-mouthed bowls and dishes. The PGW phase was followed by northern black polished ware. In short form you can say NBPW, northern black polished ware, the beginning of which goes back to 700 BC. This pottery was glossy and shining. It is believed that the use of this pottery was made by the people who dominated the economic and social life of the period. It is an important point. It is believed that the use of this pottery means the people who were using such kind of a pottery was made by the people who dominated the economic and social life of the period. Early settlements. On the basis of the names of the rivers and mountains mentioned in the Rig Veda, it is believed that the Aryans entered India from Afghanistan and settled in the valley of Kabul River and the Punjab. They called this northwestern part of India Sapta Sindhu. The Aryans called this area the Sapta Sindhu. Why they were calling this area as a Sapta Sindhu? Because this area was the land of 7 rivers, namely Sindhu, Indus, Ravi, Byas, Satluj, Jhelum, Chenab and Saraswati. This region covers the present area of eastern Afghanistan, Punjab and parts of western Uttar Pradesh. Later this region was named Brahmavarth, or the land of gods, because the composition of Rig Veda took place here on the banks of the river Saraswati, which they considered most sacred. The region provided conditions for stable agriculture. The act of moving from place to place with herds of animals ceased to have the preeminence it had enjoyed in early days. This fact too was responsible for the evolution of a new culture. When we will have a look about the society, we find that their social system was very systematic, and we can know about their social system through the heading social organization. In the Rig Vedic time or the early Vedic period, the Aryans lived in villages. You have to make it a point. The Aryans in the Rig Vedic time or the early Vedic period, the Aryans lived in villages. The family was the fundamental unit of the society. Means family was given an important place. It was patriarchal. This means that the oldest male member of the family was its head. Means the family was male dominated. It was a male dominated society. It was a male dominated society. And the oldest male member of the family was its head. He was called Grihapati or Kulpati. After the death of Grihapati or the Kulpati, the responsibility shifted to his eldest son. Several families lived in gram or village. Several villages formed a visa. Many visas formed a jan. The head of the village was called Gramini. That was visa. And Viswapati, Rajan or king, was the head of a jan. Kings governed with the help of ministers. Means the kings were ruling the area, the kingdom, with the help of ministers. Sorry. The important officers included Gramini, Purohit, and the Senani. The Senani was the commander of army, and the Purohit performed religious ceremonies. The administration of the village was carried out by the Gramini. The king did not maintain any regular army. However, in times of war, he used to organize tribal groups to perform military functions. This is also an important point. The king did not maintain any regular army. However, in times of war, he used to organize tribal groups to perform military functions. During the Vedic time, the tribe elected a leader of its own. He was not as powerful as the one in the later Vedic period. In the Rig Vedic period, three popular assemblies known as Sabha, Samiti, and the Vidartha advised the king. The Vidarth was the earliest assembly which used to perform all kinds of functions. Economic functions, military functions, religious functions, and social functions. And in those functions, women were actively taking part. Women actively participated in the deliberations in the Vidatha. The Samiti was the assembly of the people, and the Sabha was the council of leaders. The Sabha performed advisory and judicial functions. The Samiti was called to session on special occasions. In the later Vedic age, kingship became hereditary and divine elements came to be associated with the kings. This period marked the beginning of a taxation system and administrative machinery. During the later Vedic age, the popular assemblies lost their earlier importance. The Sabha and Samiti came to be dominated by chiefs and rich nobles. Women were no longer permitted to attend these assemblies. Position of women, very important thing, very important point of the Rig Vedic period. During the Rig Vedic period, women were respected. Their position was very good. The institution of marriage had become sacred. The daughters were given freedom to choose their husbands. The system of remarriage of widows was prevalent. There are no examples of child marriage. The marriageable age in the Rig Veda seems to have been 16 to 17. In the later Vedic period, there was significant decline in the status of women. Their participation in the yajnas, sacrifices, was not considered necessary. They did not enjoy the right to property. This is also an important thing. They did not enjoy the right to property. The freedom to choose husbands by women was curtailed, was shortened. Means in the later Vedic period, the women did not get freedom to choose their husbands. But in the early Vedic period, they were free to choose their husbands. Class division, this is also an important part of the Vedic period. Though the caste system is not mentioned in the Rig Veda, when we will discover the pages of history, we did not get anything about the caste system in the Rig Veda. But the fact remains that there was some kind of class division in the society. The early Aryans called the local inhabitants Dasyus and did not mix with them. It is said that during this period, the tribal chiefs and the priests acquired a large share of the body and grew at the cost of their kinsmen. This resulted in social inequalities, and the tribal society got divided into three groups. First group was warrior, second group was priests, and the third group was people. The fourth division, called the Sudras, appeared towards the end of the Vedic period. Toward the end of the Vedic period, you will find some important points, some important knowledge about the Sudras. Because the word Sudra is mentioned for the first time in the 10th mandala of the Rig Veda, which is usually considered as a later addition. However, since the economy was mainly pastoral, depend on shepherds and not food producing. They were not producing food, but their economy was pastoral. There was no scope of collecting regular tributes or taxes from the people. There was no taxation system. In the early Vedic period, the society was divided into different classes based on their profession. A person could adopt any profession of his choice, as is evident from an excerpt of the Vedic Rig Veda. Here is a beautiful line. By means of reading these lines, you can easily understand that a person could adopt any profession of his choice. I am a poet. My father is a physician. My mother grinds corn on a stone. Being of the same family, we are engaged in different professions. These lines show that people were free to choose their profession of their own. People followed different professions which became hereditary in course of time. In course of time, those persons who were following the profession, that will become their hereditary profession. This resulted in the division of society into occupational classes. Gradually, this took the form of caste, and the present caste system merged. In the later Vedic period, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas and Sudras became four distinct caste or Varna system. This is called Varna system. The Brahmins or the priests performed religious rituals. They were entitled to do religious rituals. The Kshatriyas participated in wars. The Vaisyas engaged in business and looked after agriculture as well as industry, and the Sudras served the upper classes. As stated earlier, during the later Vedic age, the caste system became rigid. The Brahmins and Kshatriyas enjoyed many privileges. The priests came to be considered as gods on earth, and the Kshatriyas also increased their power and came to be regarded as a ruling class. All the three higher Varnas were entitled as Upnayana, or investiture with the sacred thread according to Vedic mantras. Intercaste marriage was not prevalent. During this period, intercaste marriage was not in fashion. 4 ashramas: Brahmacharya, then Grihasthashram, then Banprasthashram, and then Sannyasashram. Man's life is considered to be 100 years. First 25 years people were spending in Brahmacharya ashram. From 26 to 50, Grihasthashram. From 51 to 75, Banprasthashram. And from 76 to 100, Sannyasashram. In the early Vedic period, men grew up according to the family traditions. However, in the later Vedic period, the whole life span of the Aryan came to be divided into 4 periods. I have already told you: Brahmacharya ashram, Grihasthashram, Banprasthashram, and Sannyasashram. The 4 stages of life are known as 4 ashramas, each of 25 years duration. The 4 ashramas are Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Banprastha, and Sannyasa. Brahmacharya ashram, I have already told you, from 0 to 25 years. During that period, people were going to study. They were living in the ashram, serving the Guru. After that, they entered the Girhastha ashram. In the Girhastha ashram, man was supposed to marry and raise a family. A householder, he was to take responsibility of maintaining his family. This period lasted from the age of 25 to 50 years. Then third stage, Banprastha ashram, okay, 51 to 75 years. And then the last stage was 76 to 100 years, was the Sannyas ashram. This was the period of renunciation. Man had to leave everything forever and go into meditation in order to attain moksha or salvation. Education was imparted through private gurukuls. In the private gurukuls, in the beginning I told you, just before this Brahmacharya ashram, when we were talking about the Brahmacharya ashram, the 25 years, up to 25 years, people were spending in the life in the ashram of the gurus. After 10 years, they were going to for study, and they were living there in the Gurukul. The residence of the Guru, called the Gurukul, meaning the family of the Guru, had become the most sacred institutions. The Gurukuls were often located on the outskirts of the city and even in forest. The students lived there. The Guru treated his students like his own children. The student was required to do household chores for his teacher. He had to get up early in the morning, take a bath, and chant the Vedic mantras. This was their daily routine, getting up early in the morning at 3 to 4 o'clock, and after getting a bath, they were chanting mantras. Most of the teaching was done orally. This is an important thing in the Gurukul. After hearing the thing, that is called Sruti, they were hearing the mantras and they were learning the mantras. They were learning the mantras by hearing. There were no books. Orally they were getting knowledge. At the completion of this is the education, a student used to give Gurukul Dakshina. Guru Dakshina, that is called Guru Dakshina, a gift to his teacher. The Gurus were greatly respected and revered. They were getting a lot of respect and honor by the student when they were living in Gurukul. The main object of education was to bring about physical, mental and spiritual development of the people. The purpose of the Gurukul education was the development of physical development, mental development and spiritual development of the student. The subjects studied included the Vedas, Puranas, grammar, mathematics, ethics, logic and military science. The women teachers named Maitreyi and Gargi were considered gifted and were greatly respected. Food, dress and amusement, that is also an important point. By means of reading about their food, dress and amusement, we came to know about the lifestyle of the Vedic period people. The main cereal produced by the Rig Vedic people was barley. Wheat and rice were not known to them. Wheat and rice were not known to them. They were producing barley. However, in the later Vedic times, there is evidence of using rice. Cows were domesticated. Domesticated means they were taming the cow. And milk products like curd, butter, ghee, etc. were used by them. Soma, a kind of intoxicating drink, was consumed during festival and religious ceremonies. Somas, a kind of a juice that was collected from a tree, that was intoxicating drink, was consumed during festivals and religious ceremonies. The clothes worn were simple. They considered an important garment under nivi or dhoti, an upper piece called vasa or shirt. An overgarment was known as adhivasa. A loose piece of clothes men wore turbans. There were customs of wearing animal skins also. People were wearing animal skins also. Some of the sannyasis, hermits, wore deer skin known as mriga chhal. Men kept long hair. Ornaments were worn by both men and women. The ornaments were made of gold, silver, ivory and precious stones. Some of the common items of jewelry were earrings, rings, anklets, bracelets, necklaces, etc. The main regions of amusement in both the Vedic periods were chariot races. Chariot race was one of the important medium of amusement. Horse races, dancing, singing and hunting was also the part of their amusement. The chief musical instruments were the drum, flute, mridang and lute. People participated in competitive sports, festivals and gambling also. Okay, people participated in competitive sports, festivals and gambling. When you will read the Mahabharata, in gambling, Yudhishthir lost his kingdom. Yudhishthir lost Draupadi also and he was exiled. Gambling was also the part of their amusement. Religious beliefs. People in the Vedic age worshipped the forces of nature. They personified these natural forces and looked upon them as living beings to whom they gave human and animal attributes. A large number of gods, as mentioned in the Vedic age, in the Rig Vedas, the most important among these gods was Indra, to whom 250 hymns are dedicated in the Ring Veda. He is also known as the Purandara, or breaker of forts, and Jitendra, a winner. He is considered as the rain god. Indra was considered as the rain god, who is responsible for bringing rainfall. The second position is held by Agni, the fire god. He is regarded as an intermediary between gods and men, for he consumes the sacrificial offerings and carries them to the gods in the form of smoke. The third position is occupied by Varuna, the god of waters, clouds, ocean, and rivers. He determines the path for all stars in heaven. Varuna is regarded as the upholders of natural or cosmic order. There were many other Vedic gods like Vayu, the god of wind, Surya, the sun god, Yam, the lord of death, Rudra, the god of storms. Some goddesses were also worshipped during the Vedic period. The most important female goddess was Usha, the goddess of dawn. Other important female deities were Prithvi, a personification of earth, Aditi, the great mother of gods, Ratri, the spirit of the night, Aryani, the lady of the forest, Dhisana, the goddesses of vegetation. However, in the later Vedic age, Prajapati, the creator or the Brahma, became the supreme god, and the Indra and Agni lost their former significance. Vishnu came to be regarded as the preserver, protector of the people, and Shiv as a destroyer of the universe. God, G-O-D, they became the god. God, G, generator, O, observer, and D, destroyer. Sacrifices and rituals with religious evolution, simplicity of nature, worship was lost. Rituals and sacrifices means yajnas, became a daily routine. Besides the yajnas performed by kings, the common people performed small yajnas, during which milk, ghee, grains, and fruits were offered to the deities. The rich people and businessmen conducted bigger sacrifices. During such yajnas, Purohits received gold, expensive clothes, and large number of cows as gifts. Dakshina. In Dakshina, they were receiving large number of cows as gift. Gold they were receiving. Giving Dakshina was also a ritual and a pious duty. Ritualism had gained strong roots, and even a small deviation while performing certain worships was considered as sin. New doctrines. The Brahmins were responsible for bringing about many innovations and evolving new doctrines. More emphasis was laid on penance called tapasya, which became ritualistic. The new doctrines included the doctrine of karma, action, dharma, duty, and moksha, salvation. All these things were mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Sanjay said, to him thus overcome with pity and giving, with eyes filled with tears and agitated, Madhusudan spoke these words. When so Arjun has this weakness not entertained by honorable men, nor conducive to heaven, come on you at this crisis. Yield not to unmanliness, O Parth. It is not worthy of you, shaking of this mean faint-heartedness. Arise, O scorcher of foes. When Arjun was not going to fight, he went back to the chariot and sat there. And he said to Lord Krishna that he is not going to fight in the battlefield because here he has a guru, Dronacharya, and Bhishma Pitama, all the great persons are here, so I am not going to kill in the battlefield. Then Lord Krishna reminded him of his duty. So in the Bhagavad Gita, you will get all these words: karma, dharma, and moksha. The belief is rebirth gained roots. Consequently, all these innovations strengthened the position of Brahmins. The Brahmins were said to have divine powers. No ritual or religious celebrations would commence without the presence of the Brahmins. Without the presence of the Brahmin, no ritual ceremonies were performed. Economy. The Rig Vedic economy was primarily pastoral. I have already told you that it was pastoral. For Aryans, cattle was synonymous with wealth. A wealthy person was called Gomat, Gopa, and Gopati were epithets given to the king. In the Rig Veda, Godhuli is used as a term for a measure of a time. Godhuli Vela, in the evening. Distance is called Gavyuti, and a daughter is called Duhitra, or the one who milks the cow. Duhitra, a daughter is called Duhitra, or the one who milks the cows. The daughters were milking the cow. Compared to the linguistic evidence from the cattle rearing in the Rig Veda, agriculture activities find very few references. Apart from jua or barley, no other grains were mentioned. Only barley they were producing. I have already told you wheat and rice were not produced by them. There are references to fire being used for burning the forest cover and the practice of shifting cultivation. Further, the area received low rainfall and the major rivers mentioned in the Rig Veda were known to change their courses frequently. In these conditions, the alluvial lands near the rivers could not be cultivated on a permanent basis. Major changes in the economy took place during the later Vedic phase. Importance of agriculture grew during this phase. The growth of agriculture in the later Vedic period was made possible by the availability of vast tracts of fertile alluvial lands of the Ganga, Jamuna, Doab and the Middle Ganga Valley. Both archaeological and literary sources depict the introduction of rice as the staple diet of the people. The Vedic text mention Vriddhi, Tandula and Sali, denoting rice. Later Vedic texts also refer to oxen yoked to the plough, suggesting that prevalence of plough cultivation. Means people were cultivating the field with the help of the ox, with the help of plough. Towards the end of this period, iron ploughshares and metal tools were used and a variety of crops were cultivated. The craftsmen mentioned in the Vedic texts include leather workers, charmakar, wheelwrights, rathkar, blacksmiths and potters, kulala, and carpenters, taksan. However, none of these groups were considered as a low status. Weaving seems to have been a domestic craft. Wool obtained from sheep was the most common raw material. Cotton is not mentioned. Trade. During the later Vedic phase, agriculture surplus led to trade, giving rise to markets from which developed towns and cities. Thus, a trade became pivot around which the whole town and city life moved. Although the Aryans had introduced coins, barter system which was still dominant in trade with other countries. Barter system, I have already told you when I was explaining the Indus Valley civilization. In the Indus Valley civilization, I explained this term, the barter system. Okay, barter system, to exchange goods for other things rather than for money. That was the barter system, which was also prevalent in the Vedic period. Occupation, besides agriculture and trade, other important occupations included domestication of animals, crafts in various metals, carpentry, pottery, fishery, etc. Women were engaged in spinning, weaving, knitting and dyeing. Such kind was a trade developed in the Vedic period and people were very happy. Thank you.